Hey, vinyl community. Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records. Down here in the basement with my trusty dog, Chester, over that shoulder on the couch there, chilling out. And I've got a contest entry for one of my dear friends in the vinyl community, Rod the Happy Hippie. And his channel is Happy Hippie the Vinyl Guy. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, I highly recommend it. He was one of my first friends in the vinyl community, and someone who always enjoy communicating with and watching his videos, and so on and so forth. Really nice guy over in East Tennessee, and thought I'd missed this contest, but corresponding to him on a thread, I found out, no, I didn't miss the contest, still had time. So I wanted to go ahead and get that one done. His contest is 10 things you want in music for 2023, coming year. And so I will do that now. Just got this in the mail, haven't cleaned it, or obviously if I haven't cleaned it, hadn't listened to it yet. But this is the new Billy Strings album, Me and Dad. And one of the first things, one of my musical wishes is that new records, this is a new records be placed in poly sleeves rather than cardboard or paper sleeves. It keeps the records from getting scuffed up. It avoids paper threads on your records, and they just end up being much cleaner, and there's less likely for anything to get down in the grooves and interfere in your enjoyment of the record. So that's one thing I would wish for, poly sleeves on new records. And number two, a couple of big companies, a few big companies have bought up all the little independent record labels. Two of the best acoustic music record labels were, in the past, were Sugar Hill out of Durham, North Carolina, and Rounder out of Massachusetts. Rounder Records out of Massachusetts. And they all got bought up, I believe, by Concord. Previous to that, I believe Rounder had purchased Flying Fish out of Chicago. And what I would like is for Concord to find it in their heart, or in their or a way to make money from it, I think they would, to take some of these labels which they now own and have complete catalogs for, and reissue these albums in 2023 and beyond. So that would be, not these two albums in particular, but these would be great albums to reissue. But to go through their catalog and do like Blue Note has done very successfully with their classic vinyl and Tone Poet series, and release these albums, which are hard to find, many of which are hard to find. Okay, and they own acoustic roots type labels like Sugar Hill and Rounder and Flying Fish, and they also own jazz, some of the jazz labels. There's just so much out there that they could do if they would, and they've already got the product, they've got the master tapes. Just do something with them, or if they're not going to do it, allow at a reasonable cost for new small labels to lease the master tapes and produce vinyl recordings for those. Okay, just do that for us, people, please. Okay, number three, I want people to stop calling all acoustic music or roots-based music bluegrass. This is my pet peeve. I know people are probably tired of hearing me say this, but bluegrass is a very specific form of music. It has a specific codification to it, involving the instruments used, involving the way the songs are structured, the catalog of songs and the types of songs that are either newly written or from the Great American Bluegrass catalog, I guess you would say. Uh, the way that singing takes place, and there are certain do's and don'ts that make something either bluegrass or not bluegrass. So just because there's an acoustic guitar, or you see a banjo on the cover, or any number of any other things, a violin is used or whatever, that doesn't mean that is bluegrass. Okay? It could be what we might term bluegrass adjacent, or it could be far, far from bluegrass. But I see everything getting called bluegrass now, and that's just not the case. So I wish people would be a little more discerning when they use the term and use it properly. Okay. And number 4, I would like to see a collaboration. They've collaborated on stage a lot. This is a Billy Strings. No, this is a Molly Tuttle album. One of the great guitarists, and this is a Billy Strings album. I would love to see these two not just perform together on stage, but merge their talents in the studio in 2023 and do a pure bluegrass album. Just kick the doors in and just go to town. That's what I'd love to see, because they are the two of the top acoustic guitarists in the world right now. And not saying they're the only ones. There are other people out there that are doing just as well, or some maybe even playing better. I don't know. But those are two top acoustic guitars. And let's see. Number 5, I would like LPs to become the norm rather than the exception when music is released. We have our downloads releases. We have CDs, which are fading out, I know, as we speak. But and some, and I know it's more expensive to do a vinyl release. Okay, I get that. But just do it and know that maybe 10% of your sales are going to come from vinyl. Maybe that will make it worthwhile. But let's just make it a norm. We're going to release it to download, to streaming, as a CD, and as an LP. And that's the norm, not the exception. So many artists just do the downloads, or just, and I know it's a lot of it's economics, but make it work, okay? And I would love to see that. Number 6, there was a period between the late 1980s and 2010, I guess, or so, when a lot of artists only released their music as CDs. I'd love to see reissues of so many recordings, that regardless of whether it was jazz, bluegrass, folk, rock, everything. I'd love to see all that from the CD era, where that's the only medium available for it. I'd love to see it in LP form. Okay? And number 7, I've got a 6-month-old grandson named Wyatt. He already loves music. I want to see him develop over the next year as he ages. Not only a love and appreciation for music, which I think he's already doing, but the beginnings of some musical skills that he can utilize for the rest of his life. I'd love to see him become very musically inclined, not just as a listener, but also as a player. And so for Christmas, I'm going to try to get him, a rattler, a shaker, so that he can maybe become a young percussionist, But what I'll probably do is I'll see little baby rattles Say, oh, that's not good enough, and I'll go to the musical section on Amazon or something, and find him some professional, uh, shakers to play with, and maybe next year I'll get the cowbell and the woodblock or something like that. Um, then now my daughter is an excellent musician, but she is a young mother, and she was in school until gone back to school for a couple of years recently, and then started her career as a nurse. So she has no spare time at all, as you can imagine, being a young mother, starting her career and things like that. I would love for her to be able to find time, sometime in her busy schedule, where she can take out her violin and or her guitar, and just find that opportunity to relax and be creative in the hectic world that is motherhood and career time. I'd love to see her to find a little bit of time, because I know that helps anybody be able to do that. And number 9 is for me to quit being a lazy, I'd say lazy old guy, but I've always been pretty lazy. To quit being so darn lazy and get out my guitar and my mandolin and start trying to make progress, to grow more. As I am a owner, not a player, to be honest with you. I can fiddle about, mess around, but I can't do much of anything, to be honest with you. I'd love to get where, I, in my mind, I've made some progress in my understanding. I'd love to be able to apply that understanding that I've gained in the last few years, and apply it to actually being able to play it, bring that to fruition and play it. I'm wanting to learn Angel from Montgomery, the great John Prine song that Bonnie Raitt has played throughout her career, and I've got it in my head, and I'm processing it, and watched a couple of YouTube videos, or about 3 or 4 actually, seeing different people's way of playing it, their little instructional things and everything. And I've got to just, woodshed practice, and I want to find time in 2023 to practice. Okay, productive practice. And number 10, finally, he said, don't take it too serious. We're not going to actually go shoot somebody or anything, but let's take someone out of the picture today, musician out of the picture today, in order to bring somebody back who's gone on. Thought about this for a while, and finally it dawned on me. This is obvious. Let's take Hank Williams Jr., who did some really good music in the 1970s, but really just became a caricature of himself by the mid 80s, and just hasn't had much in the way of any fresh ideas for the last 40 years. Let's take Hank Jr. and push him off to the side, and let's bring up his father, Hank Sr., who died way too young. Let's bring in Hank Sr., get him the medical help he needs for his back, so he isn't dependent on pills for his back pain, and get him sobered up, get him on a good 12-step plan, get him good and sobered up, and let's see how productive, how creative Hank Williams Sr. could be as a stone cold sober, more mature individual. Gosh, we lost such a great one when he passed away, and at such a young age. And that's true for so many artists, that we lose way too young. If we can avoid the drugs and the alcohol abuse, and get them in, advanced in their years some, just think what great music could be created. So let's get Hank Sr. back, and boy, I bet he could write some doozies. All right, I'll put a link down for Rob's channel below. Please, if you're not already subscribed to Rob's channel, please do. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you join me here by subscribing. I do a lot of roots music, but I do a lot of other stuff too. And I, whether you subscribe or not, if you'll hit the like button, that would be nice. And I don't say that for selfish purposes, but because that'll attract more people to Rod's contest, his thread, and make you aware of Rod. Rod the Happy Hippie, one of the great guys in the vinyl community. Everybody, remember, be kind to your neighbors, because, folks, we are all neighbors.